What's going on, YouTube? We're here at the Big O Belt Podcast. It's me and Jamal here. We're going to get into a movie review for a movie that'll be coming out in select theaters February 14th and everywhere by February 22nd. Fighting with My Family. First off, Jamal, how's it going?
Not bad.
Cool. And we got to see this early screening in the Washington D.C. area. Jamal, of course, seen it 2 weeks ago, and I was able to check it out this week. And basically, if you have no idea what this movie is, basically Fighting with My Family, and this is the official synopsis for it as well, is a heartwarming comedy based on the incredible true story of WWE Superstar Paige. She was born into a tight-knit wrestling family. Paige and her brother Zach was ecstatic when they get a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to try for the WWE, but when only Paige earns a spot in a competitive training program, she must leave her family, face a new cutthroat world alone. Paige's journey pushes her to dig deep, fight for her family, ultimately prove the world that she can make her different in the very thing that can make her a star. So before we kind of break this down a little bit, let's just start off with, like, what were your expectations upon this movie? Because I remember you seen it before me and you gave me your reactions afterwards. But, like, what was your initial thought, just like getting there and thinking about this?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Not really a fan of Paige and of her work, though I do know of her story. So my expectations from the movie, I was hoping to get something from her story that maybe I didn't know, that maybe turn me around on her overall being in WWE. As far as how well did I think the movie's going to do, WWE Studios, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't have a great track record with producing quality content. Because R-Truth has a movie. It was in a theater. That happened this year. But I mean, WWE Studios have kind of been hit or miss with their films. But The Rock is co-producing it with his $7 Productions. He did have a supporting role in the movie, and I was just hoping that it would. I remember when they filmed the thing in Los Angeles, the after Raw, like WrestleMania season when they were in Orlando, and they had Thea Trinidad as AJ Lee, and they did the whole bit at Staples Center. So I just really wanted to see what came of that and how that played out in the movie. So it, had some expectations as a fan of wrestling and someone that knows her story, but I didn't have high expectations that the movie would be, anything more than not necessarily filler, but I thought it was going to be a big ball of okay.
Yeah, so like you said, The Rock was had an executive or producer role in this, and this was directed and written, and actually he acted in it as well. Stephen Merchant, which you've seen acting in other movies in the past, and he's directed other things like I forget the name of the one TV show. He's done stuff like The Office. He rewrote for The Office. He's done. It's a comedy show that I used to watch too as well. Lip Sync Battle as well. So with that being so, you can tell the type of comedic like tone that this movie was going to have. And also I like to give Stephen Merchant kudos to always. I think everything he does always has good pacing. So that was definitely the same case here. But I have to initially say too that I didn't have such high expectations for it. The trailers really didn't do it for me, but again, it was one of those cases where it's just like, well, I want to hope I can go into this and I can get a story that maybe I didn't know of. I think there was always, we always got a glimpse of what the travel meant, and obviously now more than ever, they got TV shows that kind of show you about what does it take to be a WWE superstar. But back in the day, before there was the NXT developmental, where it is the platform it is now, we got to see like literally how it was, where she was in this movie in a group of maybe 10 and she was the only one selected, where now NXT says, oh, we'll take all of you guys and then we'll let you all kind of like tank out at some point, you know what I mean? So but yeah, getting into the story first of all, so I have to say that the Florence Pugh, who played Paige, or what's Paige's real name, Saraya Knight Beavis, yeah, Saraya-Jade Beavis, yes. I was not totally familiar with her work at a point, but I will say that I was impressed at how she portrayed Paige, knowing and seeing Paige and stuff like Total Divas and weekly on WWE programming. I knew it came with such a strong personality and like a good like dialogue, like a good tone of dialogue and sarcasm mixed all together. So it was cool to see somebody be able to captivate that and put it on a big screen. What would you say would be some of your positive points of it?
Well, I think probably the best thing about it was that it did delve into what really it takes to be a wrestler. Not to give the main plot points away, and obviously if you're listening to this, you probably know how the story ends. But it's that the grass isn't always greener. It's that the things that you think that you see, and that Paige has a run-in with some of her contemporaries as she's training in NXT. And though we have this perception of people, the perception isn't always the reality. And Paige had to learn that, and everybody else had to learn that in a way. So I thought that was a pretty a good tone, and the fact that things that were said, directions that were given that didn't always make sense, turned out to be like, okay, well, people may actually know what they're talking about. Don't be too big of yourself to not take advice well. So, I think it had a lot of messages and stuff like that, where it was, somewhat realistic and humbling, but also you do have to believe in yourself to get things done. So I really like the message that it had in the movie there.
Yeah, definitely a good point. I also thought that of all the marketing and advertisement, that I did not even notice that Vince Vaughn was such a staple in this movie. And I have to say, him playing Hutch, who was one of the WWE recruiters, there was a story in its own as well with that as well. But man, did he kill it. I thought that he brought the comedic tone that this movie absolutely needed, and not just the tone that it needed, but I thought it balanced out with the other characters as well, so that it wasn't just like highs and lows depending on who was on the screen at time. I thought he was the perfect fit for that position. And also too, considering, like you said, the nature of the journey of getting to your ultimate dream, making it to the WWE, considering where her family came from, and everything that was involved with her parents' upbringing, and how her parents had to the sacrifices her parents had to make in order to make a providing for them. Her brother also was incarcerated at the time. So considering all the really dark and low tone things that their story is about, it was cool to be able to have a comedic tone that really softened those points. I really thought that Nick Frost, who played Ricky Knight, who was the dad of Paige, did a really good job in this movie. I
think overall, and don't get me wrong, I don't, I am going to be critical of the movie.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's not perfect.
Yeah,
but I do think that some of the high points were of Florence Pugh looked like Paige.
Yeah,
I mean that was a good thing, and I can see that in her. I think the family, obviously they're from a small town in England, and it's they're making it, and now they have a chance to step into the limelight, into the big stage, and how well will you deal with that kind of pressure, and what happens if you make it or don't make it, and stuff like that. So it's a lot of those conflicting tones, and that though this is your dream, are your dreams worth fulfilling and stuff. So so I thought that was really, really good. Lena Headey as Paige's mom.
Yeah, Julia.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I didn't really like Vince Vaughn. For the most part, he was just the straight man. He really didn't add anything. Mm-hmm. He really could have been. He's the straight coach in every sports movie. That's like, well, I saw something in you before you knew that you saw something in yourself. Only thing you got to do is go get it.
Yeah.
And to use the cliche, Chase, grab the brass ring. He was that guy, telling her to grab the brass ring.
I almost want to say that verbatim, what you just said is what he said in the movie. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, because it's your typical sports cliche of your underdog that pushes themselves and they can't make it and they can't do it.
Yeah.
And then they get told that one inspirational story and then they go out there and make it work.
Yeah.
You pick a movie, that's how it happens. And then, of course, there's your obligatory fail montage, and then there's your progressive montage, and then there's the montage where they succeed. So it has a lot of those same sports movie tropes that it's like, okay, I see where we're going with this early. It's not the smartest movie. It is a bit of fun, but it is a bit predictable in its storytelling.
Yeah.
Personally, though, I got to give a thumbs down to the fact that there's a lot of revisionist history, in it, where Paige, the movie ends with Paige debuting at WrestleMania, and I think that's no secret to everybody because that's a good place to end her story in that regard. But a lot of that stuff was kind of like, that's not what happened. And considering that it happened unfortunately a few years ago, because the realities of wrestling is that Paige will probably not do it anymore. And that being what it is kind of like, well, that's not how that works. And also, one big thumbs down is that they kind of buried NXT. You can tell it's a WWE movie because they buried NXT. We don't get to see NXT is really just like an afterthought, wherein she spent 2 years in NXT, and longer in FCW. And I'm not saying that they had to include all of that, but I'm just saying that, like, when she steps into the grand stage, this isn't like that movie Rookie of the Year where this kid, comes out there and he's 12 and now he's pitching for the Cubs.
Yeah.
No, she practiced, she trained. She had a classic match versus Emma, which is top 10 greatest women's matches in WWE history on the first NXT takeover.
Yeah. Oh, just to be clear to anybody, NXT is the developmental program before you get into WWE. So it's the
So they reference that as like a minor league brand, which is unfortunate because it is what it is. But it's just that they really glanced over that. And there's another thing too. It's
very pivotal too, because for the same likeness that we took to a likeness for what she did in NXT is absolutely the reason why of all her contemporaries that she was the one that deserved to have been in that spot. The movie does not display that at all.
Right. It kind of just glances over her 2 or 3 years down in Florida. And then all of a sudden, hey, The Rock's going to give you the phone, and now you're, debuting on the Raw After Mania. They don't really explain how significant that is, and why the Raw After Mania is the best Raw of the year in most cases. They don't explain the significance of what that match versus Emma really should have been. They didn't mention that at all. Obviously, they don't need to have her there, but just the progression. The movie basically took a fast track and went, oh, gosh, she sucks. Or she can't wrestle WWE style. Not that she sucks, because that's why she's there, because she's good. But she can't wrestle WWE style. And then montage, and then she gets better.
Yeah.
It's not Hoop Dreams.
Yeah.
She didn't come off the court, in the slums and then go, all right, I'm going to sink this shot. And then the camera fades into the Game 7 in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, because and even like you said, it was points in the movie where she says, like, this is how you wrestle. This is how I've always been. My brother, my family, we've been in this business for years, and you got me with these other people who are here for looks, glamour, or attention, whatever it may be. But I'm a legit wrestler, and if you want to see, because that was actually a gift and a curse to her because she was so good. They looked at her like, oh, you don't quite fit this mold. But
maybe not. I mean, but like, and again, not to give like all the story away, but the bottom line is that we know who Paige is, and as fans, we know which family she come from and her lineage. But the big thing about that is that so what if you can't wrestle for the WWE? With that said, Big thumbs up. I think the best thing about it is, and this is why in the end I got to give it the grade that I'm going to give it. It's because as a wrestling fan, there's a lot of revisionist history, but it doesn't detract from the main story of the movie, and that it actually is pretty good. As a person that isn't a wrestling fan, and a person that was sitting directly to my left, had never heard of her, said, you know what? Cool, it's a good sports story, but I don't need to know or care about the ins and outs and the basic points of the wrestling, breaking into the wrestling business. So it has a little bit of both.
Yeah,
we got to see the culmination of Paige, who did some things, but then also for non-wrestling fans, this is like a real story, and maybe it kind of casts some light on the stigma that wrestling isn't legitimized as a sport because it's not considered "quote unquote" real.
Yeah. And I mirror that. I think that this movie did, in other words, give a little bit of something for everybody. Upon my screening, there was kids cheering. There was older people to the left of me that was jumping at every bump that happened. And then there were people to the right of me who was obviously fans, who was just emotionally invested in the story, who had no clue of, becoming a WWE superstar. I guess they felt like some days you just wake up and you are a star, but so you don't really realize the type of sacrifices that families and people have made in order to make it happen. Right. I will say for sure, and just just some background news. That family is still very active in the wrestling scene. The mother is wrestling a lot currently right now. So
she's doing a Nova Pro show WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, it's a thing that's happening. So if you don't have really too much expectations in the movie, I think it is definitely a go see. Go find out the story and then go research some more. There's so much content with this family all over. There's a documentary out as well that is a good another piece that adds to this as well. But overall, I think the movie was good, and I think with it coming out in February with not much competition coming out this month for it, I think it's a sure one. If you need something to watch, I think it's a sure easy pick of the selection out right now.
One other thing before I give my final grade for it, big shout out to Tessa Blanchard. Because she did the stunts for Florence Pugh in the wrestling scenes. And even though you obviously couldn't tell because of the magic of editing, she made, Florence, that those transitions were very, very, very well done. We know that Thea Trinidad, now known as Selena Vega, was going to be AJ Lee, but honestly, she really didn't play that much of a part. And they totally undersold her significance as in the WWE landscape, but whatever, that's fine. But good on you, Tessa Blanchard, for going out there and making dear Florence look really good.
Yeah, no doubt, and I think that it was cool to see and stay after the credits as well. There is some what's the correct term for it?
It's not a stinger, but there are some things in some real life footage between the credits.
Yeah, that you get to see some of the moments that they're reenactment in real life. So that was good. That was good, and it was it was a tearjerker. It was emotional. It was a good movie. I definitely enjoyed it. I laughed a lot for sure. And then it again, I thought it gave a little bit of something for everybody. We're hardcore wrestling fans. We're hardcore, not just WWE, but fans of just all of wrestling. So it's cool to see what was happening, or how the UK scene, in other words, development was going down, how they were pulling talent from all over to do so. I mean, yeah, they were kids on the block, but some of these guys actually went up to be somebody. You know what I mean? It's the story of wrestlers coming out of jail and revamping their life and starting a career. You see all of that. You see sort of say the WWE theatrics, what goes on, and you just see what happens within a family that's bred into wrestling. And like I said, go do your research. They're still very active in it right now. So I think it's overall a good story. So yeah, let's wrap it up. Will you give a rating for your movie, sir?
B minus.
B minus. I'm with you on B for sure. My big negative is I probably could have did without The Rock in the movie. I really could have. I understand that you put him in there to try to, sell, but like his scenes, I could have did without. especially his petty scenes. He has a really petty scene that I feel like he had no reason to throw shots at another actor in the movie, regardless if they're friends or not. Who knows? But I think I could have just did without some of that. But overall, legit, it was a fun movie. I think you should go see it. So that's all I got. Is there anything else you want to add for this movie review?
No, I think that's it. I would say see it. I wouldn't spend more than $10 on it, so maybe you can catch a matinee. But big shout out to Tessa Blanchard. Really making a lot of things work well. But yeah, no, it's pretty good. Good on WWE because they needed the win after that R-Truth movie.
Yeah, and then also too, this is a shout out because Paige and everything that she's been through in her life it's very cool to be able to allow her to let us into the story and her having an influence in this movie happening and sharing the backlog and inviting fans into sort of say the backstory of her upbringing. We know that she's been attacked by fans for all different types of reasons for a long time. So to invite people into her personal life to see how this all came about.
To invite people in their personal life in a legitimate way.
Yeah. So
there's that.
Yep. All right. So yeah, you go check it out. In theaters January 14th, selected theaters, and all theaters by February 22nd. And this is our review for Fighting with My Family.